So Panic Button is a company that a lot of Switch owners have become very familiar with for their ability to port much bigger games to a system that we originally weren't sure if it could run something like that. If you think back to when we saw the reveal of Doom and Wolfenstein 2, a lot of people were pretty surprised, and then we find out it's this company called Panic Button that we had just heard about porting Rocket League to the Switch is handling them. They both come out, and they both ran on the Switch, and some people were thinking the resolution too low, frame rate, whatnot, but they ran, and that was interesting enough to see. Now, Panic Button has been around for a little while now. They've actually done ports of things like Injustice to the Vita, which I believe probably a few people didn't think that was even possible. They made that work. And then they also work on other games like Recore, and right now they're working on Subnautica and Warframe along with Doom Eternal. Now, Warframe is one that was very interesting when that was announced kind of randomly that it was going to the Switch as well. But, of course, they probably want to get on as many systems as possible. They saw Panic Button. They said, okay, if we're going to get someone to do it, let's get Panic Button to do it. And we know that Panic Button is pretty good at getting these games onto systems through use of heavy optimization, tricks that they said that they've pretty much developed over time. And it looks like these tricks or these optimizations, well, it's actually affecting other versions of Warframe, which is odd, I guess. But hey, if they're working with the developers, then yeah, the other versions could run better if they pass along some information that they found, like a second look at the coding and everything that's going on. They kind of take a look and they say, well, we could do this differently. And yeah, it looks like they've actually made the Xbox One and the PS4 version run better just from working on the Switch version and sharing some of their techniques. Now, a Reddit user by the name of Mike actually posted a tweet, as you're seeing here, from Steve Sinclair, who's actually a video game director at Digital Extremes, who's the developer behind Warframe, saying, Panic Button, performance improvements for upcoming Switch. Warframe makes all versions of Warframe faster. About a 1 millisecond saved on Xbox One, PS4 is a serious improvement. And Steve goes on to say in that Twitter thread that that is actually 1 millisecond saved off of visibility for every frame. And as he puts it, time to calculate what is visible on screen every frame. And that is a fairly large improvement, and a lot of people go on to speculate people could check this out like Digital Foundry or something as these updates come out, but that could do things like maybe smooth the performance out a bit when it comes to frame pacing, maybe frame rate gets better. It's hard to say how big of a difference this will make, but it's pretty clear with how excited they are that, yeah, it's going to make somewhat of a difference. And there was even a live stream that was pointed out by Mike on Reddit that also shows them talking a little bit more about Panic Button.
The really cool thing about the mainline, like while you're doing this, the cool thing about the mainline is that we've been working with Panic Button on the Switch version of Warframe, and about once a week they will say, hey, we noticed this really slow thing in the game. Like if you're playing on a big server match, or Glenn at the same time has been doing his weekend Twitch stream saying, we're going to measure the performance of every single Warframe in the game. And so those two things have come together to create really significant performance improvements, CPU improvements for Warframe, as well as the dynamic lighting performance improvements.
It looks like Zood could use some performance improvements here. What's going on with them?
So it's interesting to think that whatever job Panic Button has, wherever they go and work on, that there's a chance that other systems could actually benefit from them working to optimize it heavily to go to the Switch. Now, I'm going to be curious, as I think a lot of people will be, to see Warframe on the Switch at the end of November. That's when it's slated to come out, so we'll be checking that out, obviously, here. Evan has some tips and stuff going up for people as well, some videos to get people started, which is pretty cool. He's been playing Warframe for a long time, so he can help us out and help us figure out what to do in the beginning. But it's going to be interesting to see how this maybe continues. I don't know how long they're going to be doing anything with Warframe. I assume after their initial port job is done, if they move on to the next thing, which Doom Eternal seems like that's going to be a big job for them, but they've proven that they can take care of Doom all right, and it'll be interesting to see that on the Switch as well. But Warframe is going to be fun to see, and now I'm going to be curious because they're talking about a whole slew of things apparently that Panic Button is pointing out in this coding for these developers to fix. So if you're really big into Warframe on the PS4 and the Xbox One, you should be excited that Panic Button apparently is porting it to the Switch. And if there's ever a game, I guess, that you're really into, whether it's an MMO or a service-based game or just another game in general, it's possible that if Panic Button gets picked up to port it to the Switch, you might actually benefit. Your version of the game might actually benefit just because Panic Button is very talented, as we're seeing here, from optimizing the game outright. It seems like they're pointing out a lot of CPU optimization that Panic Button is pointing out, which makes sense considering the Switch's CPU. So that's probably where they start right away, is how can we optimize it and shrink it down so that it works better with the Switch's CPU, which is different, obviously, from the Xbox One and the PS4. So interesting stuff there. I thought it was really cool to see them talking about how they're working with Panic Button to increase performance on the other versions as well. And we'll keep an eye out for this when it comes out at the end of November. Let me know what you guys think about Panic Button down below. Maybe you were aware of them beforehand because maybe you played that Injustice port on the Vita, or even, I guess, Recore at that point. The Vita version of Injustice was pretty impressive. I will say that. When that actually came out and was announced, I was like, wow, really? They're going to get Injustice on this handheld? And they did, and it ran. So it was interesting to see it. Let me know what you think about Panic Button down below in this situation. Make sure you guys give the video a like if you liked it, dislike it if not. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for what is shaping up to be a very packed news wave at 8 a.m. Eastern Time.